All right, well, welcome everyone to the second session for the Facilitators of Change e-Forum. It is great to have you along and great to have you here. We've got Hugh Galvin from Sports NZ joining us this morning. So thanks, Hugh. He's waving there on your screen. And yeah, we'll be hearing more from Hugh shortly. My name's Denise Busel. I'm with RMPP and Beef and Lamb New Zealand, and I'm based here in Christchurch. And so yeah, it's cold. I'm sure there are colder places, but we are doing all good. I have two fellow facilitators. So Jeanette, I'll get you to introduce yourself, please.
Hi everybody, great to see your faces. Pretty early here for me in South Australia this morning, and cold here too. So lovely to be with you all. I'm a facilitator and farmer in South Australia and have been involved with the Action Network for quite some time, off and on, helping out. So thanks, Denise.
Cool, thanks, Jeanette. And we also have Lab Wilson, who's our third facilitator for the session today. So Lab, I'm going to say hello.
Yeah, good morning everybody from quite cold Auckland really. I've actually got a heater on here, so that's kind of a bit of a novelty for us. But yeah, and I'm most of you will probably know me through the lead facilitator course, so I've been involved in the developing the facilitators for the Action Network and a wider agricultural, well, at least the red meat sector as well. So looking forward to learning some stuff today with you all.
Brilliant, thanks Lab. Okay, well, we've got a quick couple of questions just to see where people are from, so get an idea of where you are based. So I'm launching the poll. Hopefully you see it in front of you. Where are you joining from? Where are you based? So hopefully you can find somewhere. That's cool. Give you a couple more seconds just to vote. Nearly all of you have voted. Any last people want to vote? Oh, last one. I'm going to close it off in 3, 2, 1. Okay, let's have a look where people are from. So hopefully you can see that. We've got most people from around the bottom of the North Island. So welcome along, but we're spread out all around the place. So great to have you on board. The next quick poll is just to see what kind of experience you've got in facilitation. So hopefully you can see the poll now in front of you. How experienced are you in facilitation? We just want to get a bit of a sense of where you are in your facilitation journey. All right, give you a couple more seconds. Everyone's jumping on. Cool. All right, nearly everyone. Last couple of people, last chance. Excellent. I'm going to close it off. All right, let's have a look. I'll share results. Most people have got reasonable experience, some very experienced, and a few people with a bit less experience in facilitation. Well, it's cool to have you along and cool to have you on the call wherever you sit in terms of experience. So I'm going to stop that and hand over to Jeanette.
Thanks, Denise. So I'm just going to run through a few little tips today to keep Zoom happening well. So if you can please keep yourselves on mute. So the mute button's down in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. So if you can stay on mute, please use the chat box. So keep the chat box open during the session, and any questions, comments, thoughts you have, share them in the chat box. It's good to have some discussion going along as we go. And when we get to the questions, then we will, of course, come back to those. So important that we have them. We have Dusty and Ben on. So if you have any tech questions, they are listed in the chat. You can message them privately under Tech Dusty and Tech Ben. So you can message them any questions you have. And if you are not aware, you can change the screen. You can't at the moment because we are on a slide, but at the top right-hand corner of your screen, when we're in the normal mode, Denise is taking us back, you can change from speaker view to gallery view. So gallery view is when you have everyone showing in the little boxes, which is what I have now, and speaker view is when the person speaking takes up most of your screen. So at times we'll ask you to flick over to speaker view, such as when we're doing the questions and feedback, and then other times it's great to be able to see everybody and share. So thanks, Denise.
Lovely. Okay, so today we are welcoming Hugh from Sports NZ and talking about facilitation lessons from sports. We're going to first of all uncover some curiosities and interests in common. We're going to explore those with you and do some networking, and then take the time to reflect on how this can apply to our sector. So Lab, I'm going to call on you to tell us about that first exercise, please. Oh, and you're on mute. Sorry, Lab.
Thank you, Denise. There's always a hiccup, isn't there? In the lead facilitator course, I mentioned a book called The Knowledge Illusion by Stephen Sloman and Philip Fernbach. And they taught us that most of what we think we know is actually in the minds of other people. And on Monday, I suggested that collectively we are the Zoom, and invoked a quote from a couple of mentors of mine that the knowledge is in the Zoom. So we're going to give you plenty of opportunities today to share what's in each other's heads. And the first exercise is designed to start that process just by sharing what it is that you're interested in learning more about today. So what is your key curiosity or area of interest that you have? So your facilitators, you'll be sent into breakout rooms shortly, and your facilitators will ask you to introduce yourself and to share your key curiosity. And so facilitators, remember to put your name at the top of your Google slide once you're in your breakout room, and also remember to share your slide with the Google slides with the rest of the group. And I'm not going to say any more, just let you go, and we'll see you shortly with your key curiosities.
Great to have you all back. Hope you had some really great discussions in those breakout groups following that fantastic video. What I would like you to do now is I would like you to put your screen on, oh, actually we'll be going to the Jamboard, won't we, Denise? So we don't need to worry about speaker mode. Yeah. So Denise will share the Jamboard, and we'll have a look at some of the key curiosities that you talked about while you were in your sessions. So Hugh, while we have the Jamboard popping up, would you just like to introduce yourself to the group?
Sorry, where am I going?
There you are, got your back. Yep.
Hi everybody, so I'm Hugh, and hopefully you've had the chance to look at the video. Thanks so much for being part of today. So I've explained my roles. I'm actually from Whitehall up in Hawke's Bay. I go back to there a number of times. I was back up there on leave last week. So it's great to have you here, and I'll start by saying I don't have all the answers, and there will be plenty of knowledge sitting in on this call. So my role today is to do the best I can to share from our sporting world. I'm not trying to be an expert around things farming in your world, but I can share from our world. And if I don't know the answer, I'll tell you, and I may be able to come back with something through Slack or some other means.
Great, thanks Hugh. I think there's probably still a few more post-it notes to pop up on our screen, but maybe we could start having a little chat while they are popping up. And I was wondering whether we might start with talking about making that value obvious in the continuation of action groups. So when we think about keeping those groups going long term, what are some of your experiences that we might be able to learn from?
Well, I think I'll go to my level as a coach at this stage, but this applies to any level. There's probably several things that motivate people. Firstly, they need a sense of connected purpose. So these farmers coming in, like athletes coming in our world, are coming in with a different why. They're there for different reasons. But what's the sense of collective purpose? What is going to bring them together? And to give you an example, I've used an analogy. at summer, when it's dark, we light a bonfire, we all sit around the bonfire, and it keeps people stare at the bonfire. It provides us with warmth, and it provides us with a place to start talking. That becomes our collective purpose. So what is the collective purpose for this group they're coming? The next thing that I see is people love autonomy and ownership. And if I go back to my days at school, at student, very little ownership, very little autonomy. I'm demotivated, I feel devalued, depowered, whatever. And so how much say do they have in the direction? How much say do they getting into the right roles that suit them? How much say do they have around the systems that are going to be used to disseminate information, bring them together? How much say do they have around the direction? People thrive and motivate by autonomy and ownership. And then the last thing that people thrive on and motivates them is a sense of mastery. So it's important they feel success. But in my world as a coach, I love stretching people, and people rise to a challenge without breaking them. If it's too great a challenge, then they become demotivated. So really work hard on a collective sense of purpose, providing ownership and autonomy to the people, environment, and then a sense of mastery. And those are three key drivers to keep people engaged. So I can share a slide if you like to bring that to life. I'm going to give you an example here. I'm coaching an under 4. I'm going to talk at 2 levels today probably. One is our role as a coaches or facilitators, our media of influence. And then I'd like at some point, I've tried to stress that at various stages, is the system. So to give you an example, I can believe as a coach in having plenty of opportunities for athletes to recover and manage their load and balance life. But if a Canada Rugby Union has a 25-week competition, the system drives my behaviours and drives the behaviours of the athletes. So somewhere in the discussion today, maybe off the back is to consider the wider farming system. If the system isn't aligned and it's driving or aligned or providing you with growth or providing the trainers with development, it starts to impact on your ability to flourish. So coming back to that sort of purpose, autonomy and mastery, example I'll give you is this, and I'm going to talk right in a coaching under 14, bring it right into grassroots stuff. 3 fathers, we're coaching a team, 1 manager, 2 coaches. Pretty clear as a collective, and this is maybe how you bring in the experts around what's our aim for these under 14 boys. Our aim is to the 9 last game we want to go say, I love rugby back next year. So we're pretty clear on what it looks like. We want a learning environment, we want to focus on the process, we want to challenge them individually and collectively as a team, and we want them to enjoy it. But now I'm going into their world. So this is you and the farmers, and I'll just show you. I asked them 3 questions. Now these are boys, under 14 lads. Gives you an example. So where am I going here? You're screen sharing.
Yes, I don't think we're seeing, yes, not seeing the right screen. Hugh, thanks.
Okay, so here's young men. Now these may be similar questions you might ask your group to unpack their autonomy, their purpose, their challenge, stretch, etc. Question, there they are, that was last week's game, and this was done 2 weeks ago. What do you love about rugby? So they did it individually, their top 2 answers, and I clicked the key things. That tells them what they love about rugby. Playing hard, physical, enjoying my mates, fitness, and having fun. And that may not be the question you ask farmers, but it could be, what does a great year together look like? Or what are you looking to achieve out of this? Or what does a high-performing team look like to you? And crucially ask them, so what do you want from us as a management group? Coach our skills, make the training enjoyable, be strict, push us, give us feedback and positive. Now, those are the top 4 answers. That might be a question asked the farmers or teams to do. So what do you need from me and the experts coming in to make this real value? It becomes our guide, and like I refer to it in weeks 1, 2, 3, 4, and to tell us whether we're on track. And the last question is, what do you want from your teammates? So you have an awesome season. Could be in our facilitation groups. What do you need from each other for this to go really well? That's what they want. I want you to be fully committed. These under 14s talking to their mates. Show up to training. Don't muck around. Work hard. Be positive. So coming back to setting that environment, as young men, I've got a sense of their purpose. I've got a sense of what their drive is around skill development, coaching, being positive, giving feedback. And they've got a sense of autonomy because they're helping shape what the season is going to look like. That sets the foundation. So as an example in our world, hopefully you're saying, well, what does it look like if I'm a coach developer working with coaches, or if I'm a coach working with athletes? So there's other questions. Then I start to work hard on, so what's the trust? You know, how do we establish trust? I enable myself to be vulnerable as facilitator, build relationships with the people that are there, acknowledge the first session might be around relationship building, getting to understand who we are, the strengths we bring, what excites me to be part of this group, what skills do I bring. You know, I've heard already on some facilitations calls, some of the younger groups, great technology. I hear there's a lot of expertise around how to run a business within the farming world. And that starts to fuel the fire. And then my role as a coach, we go back to that sheet I've just shown you. Give me a test, am I on fire? You know, how are we going here? And that starts to show the value in their eyes because they've told me what they want. There's a starter.
Thank you, Hugh. Some really exciting things to take away and reflect on out of that little discussion. I'm going to have to go back and listen again, I think, because there were some really good gems for me there, particularly about that building the trust and spending the time to really get it going, and the importance of autonomy as part of our groups really sort of stood out for me. So when we have it now back at our Jamboard, we've got a few questions here about empowering others to gain great facilitation skills, coaching and others, and that coach support trainer philosophy. So wondering if you could perhaps share a few thoughts and insights around being the coach support.
Is this the coach of the athletes, or is this the person supporting the coach, supporting the facilitators on this call?
I think it's around the people, you know, supporting others to get the skills and to be the coach. So that coach support role.
Okay, so in our world, is that coach developers the coach? Is that clear?
Yes. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where's the video? I'm looking at the Jamboard. Should I be looking at people?
No, look at no, you're looking at the Jamboard. That's right.
All right. Yeah, so if I can show you another slide, how about I start there?
Yep.
Share my screen. Now, the context around this slide is these are our trainers. So I've got the athletes, the coach, strong relationship, the coach developers, the people who develop people on this call. And some of you may well be the coach developer. This next level is our trainer group. And some of them are coach developers. They just need to know which hat they're wearing on that particular day. So I'd like to show you some work that of them, and I'll talk through it. How long we got the rest of this call, by the way? I don't want to go over time.
Got 10 minutes.
We've got
10 minutes. Okay. So the context is this. I'm working with a group of trainers. They're spread out around the South Island. There's about 8 of them. And my role is to power them up and to get a sense of team. So there's a model that I really, really like, which is Daniel Kim's levels of perspective. And maybe I'll talk to the back end of that around the systems. But I use that to frame the sense of team, and it will layer on some of the stuff I've shared already. So the context is the first morning as they come together, they don't know anybody. And I actually started a cafe. So break the ice. They had some sort of, you know, speed dating type stuff. Go and introduce yourself. What do you know about these people? What's their why? So we're breaking the ice. Then actually went across to the park and I did some disclosure sort of fun activities where they had to stand and talk for 30 seconds. And all the while I'm building trust and I'm up first and vulnerability. By lunchtime, I said, here's our next little challenge. We locate ourselves with music. Give us a song that tell us why, what it means to you, and we're all going to sing at carpool karaoke back from lunch. Now, if I did that with a group of coaches in a big open room, it would have fallen flat on its face because there's all the space. But I led off. And so again, we're building a sense of team. It worked really, really well. Then I'll get to the depths of what we're looking to achieve. So if I show you this slide. Okay, so these are trainers. These are our system leaders. They tend to be maybe managers. Some of them will sit into the senior leadership teams, but this is our work. So here are us doing carpool karaoke. This is the end of our day. I pulled this work together. The dream team, we called ourselves. Crucially for them, it's like, what is your why? Why are you giving up your time to be part of this program for the next year? And those were their comments. So I actually asked them to come in with their why. Then, and this is the model in action, what is our vision? Where are we going in a year? And now I don't care whether it's vision or purpose, but Daniel Kim calls it vision. So I'm now starting to get real clarity of what great looks like for this team in a year. Now, I may be able to use the same, well, I can use it with athletes, I can use it with coaches, I can use it with whoever. And I mentioned the other day mental models. So what I workshopped out of them is, what do we truly believe our deepest values, attitudes, and beliefs are towards what a great trainer looks like? Now, that question could be what a great coach looks like, a great coach developer. So there's some of my scribbling out to the side there and my whiteboard working. See, it's not fantastic. But here they are: build meaningful and genuine relationships, managing change and promoting leadership, taking the whole environment into account. That's what we believe. Then I said, perfect, that's what we believe, but 95% of organisations, teams work and the systems don't align. So we develop systems. So this is their autonomy, sense of purpose. So what systems will drive to that? And they came up with things like fortnightly catch up for 50 minutes, but then extend it. Develop a U plan, which is like the individual development plan. Build a system, what we call a review system. Find a critical friend or mentor. So these are systems that I can alter over time, or the group can alter if they're not working. But Daniel Kim would argue leaders get those top things, three things right with their teams. And more often than that, leaders, I see, are actually managers, because they're just managing systems. They're not leading the system. They're not leading the teams. And if you get the systems right, you can alter systems to get different behaviours. My question to them is, in a year, what does a high-performing team look like? And that's what they said: holding each other accountable, embracing vulnerability, open to feedback, whatever it is. This becomes our document to help guide our team, and we'll refer to. And lastly, Daniel Kim says, it's the events. And what a lot of people, organisations and teams spend time on is the event. We have a team building weekend, and then we didn't do anything with it, but we had a team building weekend, and we had a great Christmas event. We wondered why things fell over, because the systems aren't in place to drive the desired behaviours. So that became our document, and then out of that, I asked them a question. These are their words. So what does a coach developer do in a trainer? And those are their words there. Then I got them to rank themselves on their top 6. Do you want to take an attribute from good to great, or do you want to have a gap filler, and what does it look like? And they started to shape their development plan. And then out of that, out of those top 6 skill sets of the trainers, you know, change management, influence, leader, system, we actually voted on their PD. So what's the key things you want? You can see it on the left side. We need change management, we need strategic development, courageous conversations and collaboration. So the PD I'm now shaping, and I could bring in an expert if I needed to, or I could deliver it, or I could co-create, starts to drive the direction of the year. So if you like, there's our document for a group of adults and adult trainers that start to build on the purpose, autonomy, mastery, clarity of where we're going, building trust and vulnerability, starts to get some peer accountability in place, teamwork results. There's an idea from a different level.
Great. Thanks, you. And really supports a lot of the discussions we have in the lead facilitator training around that structural support and systems to be able to keep things going along. We've got one question. We've just got a few minutes left. So there's been one question that I'll ask. Warwick said, what's the difference between a leader, a coach, and a facilitator? So perhaps we'll ask that question. We've got about 3 minutes, Hugh, before the next, we move into the next activity.
Leader, coach, facilitator.
And a facilitator.
My starting point is getting really clear on what those things are. So a coach in our world works with athletes. A facilitator will use skills such as questioning. Our coach may use these as well, working with groups, shaping the learning environment, building respect and rapport. And often they are bringing people in or facilitating a group. The group will decide where it's going. I'm talking pretty quickly here. And then a leader will make decisions that a leader can lead from the front, they can lead from the behind, from to the side, but they may make decisions that are right for the right moment at that right time. And it may not please everybody, but at times we have to lead in those examples. I encourage those other 14 children that they will take on leadership roles at various stages. And I won't go into what that looks like, but they are all leaders. So it's getting clarity around what it looks like in your world and personally what that looks like to you, which is essentially your mental models.
Yeah. So I really like the way you spend that time digging those mental models out and thinking, how they apply in that situation. We do we have time, Denise, to go back to the Jamboard, or is it time to move on to our next, probably time to move on to our next activity? So have a little reflection on that Jamboard, everybody, before we move on, because we will be coming back to Hugh after we've had another breakout session and have some opportunity to ask him some more questions. So obviously there's quite a few things there we haven't touched on, but we'll be able to frame some questions and catch up again very soon. Welcome back, everybody. Great to see you all. Hope you've enjoyed your musical chairs and been able to have a great chat amongst yourselves while you've been out. If you could all please keep yourselves on mute, and to help with the bandwidth, perhaps if we can turn our videos off for a while, that would might also help, so that we are not overloading the internet and have you breaking up like he was a bit in that last session. It seemed to improve when we turned them off. So I'm looking for some questions to pop up in the chat box. What are some of the things that you would like to know, hear more about from Hugh? Please put your questions in the chat. And while you're doing that, Hugh, I'd like to ask you a question about making the value obvious. So, you know, particularly as, you know, as we work to keep these groups together, what are some of the things we can do around keeping that value front and foremost in our minds?
One of the things is finding out what the value looks like to start with. So if I go back to that under 14 example, they told me what they want from us as coaches. They've clearly identified what they need from each other, and they know what a great season looks like to them. So they've told me what the value looks like. In 3 weeks' time, when we go back and revisit it, and I'll touch on it throughout the season, and we are not coaching them skills, which is what they've asked for, and we are not making the enjoyments fun and enjoyable, and we are not keeping them working hard, as they've said. The value is decreased. So I need to find that out. And there's a thing called a values creation framework, which I'm playing around with this year. And if I think around the farming groups and the athletes, what's the immediate value that they come along to the first session? Maybe something exciting. You know, what are you joining here? Why are you sitting here tonight? And then they start to talk about potential value. So what are you looking to achieve by giving up 2 or 3 hours of your time? Maybe relationships, maybe working with like-minded people, maybe hearing from experts. What are you looking what does great look like for you in a year's time? Well, I need to be able to apply this information. I need a bottom line on my business, and I need something that's practical. Otherwise, it's just a great theory. So they start to give me what potential value looks like, what real value looks like. What does awesome look like for your community in 3 years' time? Well, we're working in sustained groups, we're carrying on. That's transformational value. And I can ask questions from farmers or coaches or coach developers, and they will give that to me. Then my trick is to go back and then start to say, well, how are we going here? Can we just have a rate show of hands, or can we rate ourselves? Is this knowledge useful? Is it applied? Are we building on those relationships? So that becomes, in their eyes, they often talk about, well, there's no value in it for me. Somewhere in that statement, I've told you that it wasn't of any use, and then why. So if I find out what the value looks like at the start, like I did with those young men, like I did with those trainers, that's my guiding document. Because if I'm doing that, I'm meeting the value that they told me what it looks like. And sometimes when I'm saying making the things obvious is with those young guys, and I'm asking them questions, I'm saying, because if I can get from you what it is you want, that will help us create the environment you want. So if I'm asking farmers, so what I'd like for you is to come in with your why, and we want to start developing a personalized development plan with you, then the reason I'm doing that is because I can then start to work with you in the best way they possibly can. So that is making obvious what I'm doing. Or the first session, when we first come together, I'd like to spend time building the team, building relationships, building trust, understanding what strengths you bring in. So that is making obvious what I'm doing. If I'm asking them to take on various roles as somebody who's the organizer, somebody who sends out the emails, whatever else, then there's a reason for it. So that's what I mean around making things obvious, because otherwise we can go in and coach, facilitate, and people are blind to what we're doing. So at the end of the year, if I'm asking for how did your confidence improve, how did your competence improve, whatever, they can reflect back on the value and those things that I've made quite obvious and say things like, the development plans are great. I love the way that you facilitated the session. It was fantastic that you set up roles, because I've made things obvious to them. That's what I was meaning.
Great, thanks Hugh, some good insight there. Hugh, we've had a question in the chat is, could you please share the slide that you had on one-on-one coach development again? Someone would really like to see that. And also, let me see, there was another question here somewhere. The benefits and challenges of differentiating between the coach and the coach developer roles. So perhaps we can have that slide up, and if you could tell us a bit more about those, the benefits and challenges of differentiating between them.
Okay, so I'll just go to share screen there. Now, I think if someone could guide me, is it on this slide? Is that the one we're looking at? Is that it? Could whoever asked that question clarify so I'm showing the right slide?
Yeah, perhaps leave that one there.
No, that's correct, Hugh.
Okay, so there's no hard and fast rule of what it looks like, but when I was facilitating this group, the easiest place to start with them is on the left. So tell me when you're a coach, what athletes do. Now, these are their words. This is not my work, and it's not watertight. And they'll say, oh, athletes train, play, recover. That's just word for word what they said. And I said, okay, perfect. If that's what athletes do, what do coaches do? Coaches go, well, they strategize, develop teamwork, motivate, inspire. So now we're getting a clear understanding of what the role looks like. Now I'm starting to move them into, so if a coach into the next levels, if the coach works with the athletes, what do coach developers do? And their words were, now so think about this, your job's to power up the coach. Like, okay, it looks like facilitating, observing, mentoring, stretching. And then I'm saying, great. So that's what coach developers are, and some of you wear all hats. Well, today's environment, you're a trainer. You're coming in from different places of the organisation. What is it that trainers do? And so I just simply teased that out from them, and then those were their words. And then from that, I was able to guide discussions around ranking themselves in the top 6, building development plans and so forth. So if I sat on a group of people in your environment and said the same thing, what is it farmers do? What is it that the coaches or facilitators do? And then if I said, well, the people who develop the coaches, what do they do? And then if I go to the next level, and the people on this call will be trainers, so what's the trainers? Then I'm able to differentiate and get a clear understanding in their minds around what is it I do. Then I'm able to say, right, today we're trainers. So what's the skills? What's the hat are we wearing? That's how I start to differentiate it. Does that answer that question, or someone else?
Yep. Great, thanks, you. And if someone would like more insight into that, please pop something in the chat box and we can follow up a bit more on that. Wendy's asked if it it's disappeared. It looks like all the things that happen when I'm not around. How do I create great? If it looks like all the things that happen when I'm not around, how do I create great? Yeah.
So if I go back to them setting that environment with players feeling as though they've got autonomy and ownership, they've got real role clarity around what's my role in this team. They've got clarity around what's our guiding purpose. They've got clarity around what does an awesome team look like in a year if we were to be really successful. And like I shared, those people said we've held each other accountable, we're communicating, we're open and honest. If we're setting those foundations to carry the team through, then if they know that there's, then those systems that we had in place, the development plan, the peer observation, the contextualized learning, they're then plugging in and start to drive the behaviours beneath it. Because ultimately the patterns of behaviour I'm after is people keeping connected, people talking and sharing, people, whatever it may look like. Now that's the great stuff that happens. And if nothing happens between, because I haven't put the foundation work, then I'm dreaming if I think that things will happen when I'm not around. So those young men, those under 14s that I shared, by setting the foundation, and I will slowly hand over more, get them more and more involved, my expectation, having set that scene, will be that they'll be practicing on their own, because I'll challenge them. Your challenge is to whatever, or they'll be saying, they're already saying, I'll go and talk to the other guy in the hostel and we can go and practice together. That's what great looks like when I'm not around, because the foundation work has been set.
Excellent, thanks, Hugh. And I think that's one of the challenges we always face with groups of farmers, is how to keep that momentum going and keep the connection happening when we're not with them.
And I think one of the key things is any group, when a group first comes together, there are 20 individuals, and there's a concept of power. They'll start to put people at positions higher than them. So somebody in your group is really a technical whiz on technology. When that person speaks, everyone listens. They hold more power. You've probably got someone in your group who's the life of the community and people respect because they're just a great person. That person has power. You've probably got somebody who's running a fantastic business. So when they talk about business models, people listen. So it's understanding who they are and getting them to the right role. And if we've got a connector in the team who's the life of the community, and I say, look, do you mind if you send out the email? Not me. Can you do that? I can type it up for you if you like. I can send, and they go, no problems. They are more influential than me trying to whip everyone along. So it's sitting back and really understanding the group and getting people into the right roles. So it's not all about me and me managing control. It's about me unpacking who these people are and getting into the right positions. There's reasons why we'll pick a person as a captain. There's reasons why in our group we'll pick a person who develops skills and warm-ups. There's a reasons for, okay, so that's a thought to mull over, and you'll know these answers having worked or ask, just ask around, you'll get information.
Yep, great. And I think from the Action Network perspective, it's thinking about who that primary contact farmer is. And, and as you're describing, I'm picking up where, that's the key person to keep those emails going and keep that momentum going. Now, I have a question. There's one question here about, can we have a bit more insight into leadership from your perspective?
So if I like using, to me, it's only theory, unless it lands at theory. I search for things that are practical. So in leaders in our organisations, those 3 levels of Daniel Kim's work, I really, really like. 95% of the organisations go into, they're misaligned in their vision, misaligned in what they believe and what the systems look like. So I try and get alignment in systems within our rugby team, within that trainer network. So leaders will what is the vision? Who are the right people to get around this table around the vision? What's the vision for MPI? What's the vision for the meat sector, RMPP, whatever else? And then really unpacking with the teams and the key people, what do we truly believe? Is it about X and Y, or is it about A and B? And then driving the systems and aligning the systems and changing the systems to get the behaviours and patterns that you're after. So I really like it, and the senior leadership teams I've sat in, as I said, we fund into organisations, so it's getting clear in their mind what the work's going to look like and how it aligns to that. And to me, that's where the trick is. In a school, if I use school examples, heads of departments or deans might see themselves as leaders, but I see themselves as managing, because they're actually managing the attendance records, they're managing the systems around getting parents in stuff. But if we can lift them into what does leadership look like and get that stuff clear, and that's one area as a sport development team we're super clear on. We're clear on what we believe, we're clear on the direction we're going, and we're clear on our systems. And that's where we sweat and we revisit those. That's, to me, is a real key.
Yep, good point. And I often talk about that, the difference between leadership and management. So, yeah. Great.
Lots of leaders I come across think they're great leaders, but actual fact, I think they're great managers, and great managers often get promoted into leadership roles because they're great managers. And I clearly see there's a difference here. Yeah,
absolutely. There's a question or comment that was up on the Jamboard that I'll go to about developing self-awareness. So where do you see the importance of self-awareness in this? It fits in well with this discussion I think we're having around leadership.
Yeah, self-awareness is a key. I still come back to that environment, establishing the trust and the fact that, we may be asking questions, and I might sitting down in a one-on-one, and I might be using what we call a review model. We might be asking our world for a video segment. It could be just seeing somebody in action over 5 minutes on an iPhone. That's all part of the self-awareness, but people need to know, why do I need to know that? The first question is why. And if I can sell a story around this is the why, the self-awareness, then that becomes a more powerful tool. Why do we have in our world people happy to have another one of their peers watch them for 30 minutes and run a review? So in all of our work environments that we do on a daily basis, more often than not, there'll be a reflective piece. And it might be to have a conversation off to the side, and I've seen someone in action. So we build that system into the work we do to keep reflection and self-awareness and action learning at the forefront. And I argue it's not about the perfect. If we're striving to get perfect, we're probably waiting and waiting and waiting. We may never reach it, but better is better than best. If I'm better today and not waiting for best. So part of that is give it a go, mate. You fall off the horse, jump back on. You've reflected on you'll get better by riding in the saddle. If you wait to learn and read around how to be the best jockey in town, somebody else is already there. So get up and get going, self-awareness, but it's understanding the why and the purpose behind it.
Yeah, excellent. Great. I have a question here. What role does Sports NZ play to keep the capability and support system functioning and meet the needs of athletes? And then the second part to that is, what oversight do they have?
Sport New Zealand down into athletes. It depends on the level. So at a high performance level, there's a lot closer alignment between what's going on and the high performance athletes. If I took those under 14 boys running around in that rugby, that's a long arm between us down to that system. So what we're working hard is on the capability build. Now, we'll use quantitative data like the numbers of participants and so forth, but it's often the richness of the things that the qualitative that tells a story. So it depends on the situation, because the question I heard was how much oversight into athletes. At a high performance level, a lot. Down into community sport, it's a long arm, so therefore we work hard on the capability of our trainers, their system lead, their design. Right now, we're having some great conversations with general managers and CEs around up and down the country around how do we change the system within sport to get a different set of behaviours for parents and participants and coaches. If your system is very, very narrow, you're geared towards a few under 18 players, well, you can expect these are the implications of it. So how do we change? How do we change the system? Yeah.
Okay, I think I'll just have to have a quick look here, see if there's any other questions in our chat box. I think there's been some really great insights there, which will create some really good discussion when we go back into our groups.
Well, can I add one other thing around the value and so forth?
Go for it.
I see, I've seen some great outcomes from the farmer videos on the RMPP site. You know, one person said, hand on heart, this has been, impactful for my business. It's a great story. In our world, people say you've got to gather the evidence, you've got to show the impact. But I reckon a really key thing to sit back is ask ourselves 3 questions. Who is the key decision maker? So at times it's the farmers, whether they're going to pay for the extension work out of their own pocket, they are the key decision maker. What decision does that person need to make? Well, it's whether they invest, I don't know what it is, $5,000, $2,500 to ongoing learning. And what is the data that will convince them either way that there's value in them doing it? And so as a starter, ask yourselves, what's the data we want? You know, if the CEO and I don't know, in beef and lamb is going to decide whether RMPP goes ahead, then the board and that person is the key decision maker. What's the decision they need to make? And what is the data that they need to influence a decision either way? And sometimes in our world, people just say, oh, we'll run a survey or we'll go gather it. But I'm saying be clear around who's the decision maker, what decision, and what data do you need to convince them? When you answer those 3 questions, we then start to show the value or show the impact. So it's a consideration, something I've heard popping up on the facilitator calls around, you know, data and evidence and value.
Yep. Yes. And it's doing that work up front, isn't it? Really digging deep and finding out what it is that people are valuing so we can put it back.
That's right. What's the story that I need to tell here and how do we go about it?
Yeah. Fantastic. Thank you, Hugh. There's one quick question and then we'll hand over back to Lab, I think I am next. Hugh, you talked about motivation coming from, number 1, connected purpose, number 2, people love autonomy and ownership, and missed the third. So if you could just share with us what was the third.
A sense of mastery. They need to know that they can succeed. But I love stretching people. People rise to a challenge if it's their challenge, or I can lay something in front. And if I go back to my time at school, you know, feeling of helplessness, this work is way too hard for me, I give up. I've got no autonomy and I've got no reason why I don't understand why I'm sitting in this classroom. I'm demotivated. So that's the third one, sense of mastery and getting people into those right roles. You know, in your group, if you've got someone who's a tech whiz, like Dusty and Ben are, get them into the role and let them flourish in it. That's a sense of mastery, and they can share the learnings with the other farmers in the group. So those are the three things.
Great, excellent. Thank you so much, Hugh. Some really great insights, and will generate some really good discussions. So I will now hand over to Lab.
Okay, everybody, thank you so much, Hugh. There's some real rich learning in there and some real rich insights into the way that you work, and I'm sure we can apply those to what we do in our day jobs. So, okay, hi everyone. I had a wonderful experience of being a voyeur in that little exercise, and so I hope you didn't mind me popping in anonymously into your rooms. What I did hear, though, was some absolutely wonderful conversations, and I learned a whole lot of different ways of doing yes and. So that was great. It really, really was. What I heard anyway was really good. So now, as we did last week, just a 5-minute session where you can now take what you've been learning and hearing from everybody else and do some personal reflection.
So that we're coming to the end of the second session for this Facilitators of Change e-forum. It's been great to have you along, and great to have Hugh along. Thank you so much, Hugh. There's been just some absolute gold in what you've been able to share and the lessons from sport. It's been really, really cool. So I'm going to invite you, Hugh, just to give us a closing comment, some thoughts before we wrap up.
Sure, thanks. Hopefully I can do that in a minute and a half. Thanks, Denise, and thanks, team. Look, a couple of levels, I suppose, I'd look to address today. If I go back a step, we spent years powering up coaches. What we realised since 2013 is we haven't spent time powering up the system above it. The capability build, for example, of the coach developers and the trainers, which are our system leaders. And often part of that system has been misaligned. So I've tried to tackle it at 2 levels today. One is understand your role. And if you're a coach or an Action Network facilitator, be great at that role. Be awesome at that role, but also understand that you're in a bigger system. So the other level I've tried to address today is the importance of getting system alignment further up the chain, and in terms of mental models, systems, vision, because otherwise I'm operating the systems that are totally misaligned. And personally, I can be a fantastic coach, for example, but if I'm operating in a coaching sporting system that's broken, misaligned, privileging high performance at the expense of everyone else, then all I can be is a great coach. I can't be a great coach in an aligned system. So therefore, I encourage people on the call to work within your circles of influence. So therefore, people on this call like Brendan and Denise and Lab may well be in your circle of influence when you can start to share learnings and get them powered up to push higher into the system for greater system alignment. And that might happen wider in the system or narrow. So I've tried to attack it from both levels, and then they will operate in a circle of influence to get shifts, whatever it may be. So that's how I'd attack it in this world. And I'm sort of trying to share that today. I'd call a bottom down, top up approach, but we need bricks stacked on top of one and the other. And if capability is important, it's capability at all levels, not just capability in coaches, where we used to spend all our time. And given there's such a great turnover, the system wasn't supporting the sustainability of it, so we lifted higher up. So those would be my concluding thoughts. And other than that, it's great to have you here. I stress I don't have all the learnings and knowledge. I may have spoken in generalizations. I've tried to share some of my practical experiences. And if you've got one thing out of it or triggered one discussion point with you, then it's been a worthwhile for your 2 hours, hour and a half that you've invested today. Thanks for the opportunity to share.
Thanks so much, Hugh. It's been brilliant. And yeah, it's those little nuggets that make all the difference. Like you say, it's not about being the best, it's about getting better. And so the one thing, take the one thing, work on it and keep moving forward. So yeah, that's really cool. Excellent. I've got a quick poll for everyone as we wrap up. So just want to get a feel for how useful the session today was. So it's coming up on your screen now. If you can vote, that would be awesome. Give you another few seconds just to vote. Nearly there. Lovely. I'm going to launch that, and It's real cool. Yep, so extremely useful, or at least somewhat useful. So thank you, Hugh. Some really good bits in there. I appreciate that. We'll be following up with a survey and following up different members, different of you via phone as well, just to get some more feedback because we're really keen to. Oh, I did show you the results, didn't I? Yep, good. There you go. We're really keen to get feedback along the way, and we appreciate that. Cool. All right. So Jeanette, I'm going to call on you. Any last comments before I close?
No, thank you so much, Hugh. I got so much out of it. I thought today was extremely useful. Lots of really great insights and things for me to take away. So thank you so much.
Awesome. And Lab, anything you wanted to add?
I can see a lot of alignment with some of the philosophies that we've been using, and I think that abound in the Action Network and in the wider rural industry. So really great, Hugh, some great insights and some great connections made by the people here. It's really good to see some of the work that's been going on today. And I think you've done a great job of provoking and challenging us. So that's wonderful.
Definitely. Yep. No, thank you. Hey, remember to jump into Slack and keep discussing this, keep sharing some of those thoughts and ideas. We created the Slack workspace so that this could be a little bit more like a face-to-face real life conference, so that you could keep the discussions going. And I know that many of you are already on there, but please jump onto Slack if you haven't had a chance. And if there is stuff that you are trying or you've learned out of the session, please jump onto Slack and share it. Our next eForum session is Monday at 10:30. We're looking at Action Network. What have we learned? What has been happening? We're sharing experiences. We're going to have a really cool panel. We've got a couple of farmers involved in the Tai Happy Action Group. We've got Byron, who's on this call, on the panel, another facilitator, Genevieve. We've got Mark Elliott from UMR. So it's going to be really cool. The pre-work is out. There's a 10-minute video to watch. You would have got the email. It's also on Slack, so please jump online and have a listen to that before you jump on the call on Monday at 10:30. And so with that, I'm going to call this one closed and thank everybody for their input and discussions. It's so cool to have you. Thanks again, Hugh. It's been great to learn from sport and share your thoughts. Thank you, everyone. And yeah, we'll see you next week.
Thanks, Denise.
Cool. Thanks, Guy.
Thank you.